when people think about the town of Mount Olive that they think about. And that is the Mount Olive Pickle Festival.
Woo, woo, woo. You know, that Pickle Fest was a big deal.
I had a feeling that was coming. I'm going to be honest. I saw that happening, you know.
I cannot believe this is my 30th year doing the Pickle Festival.
That's wild.
When I got involved, we had about 8,000 people coming to Pickle Festival. My line was about 4,500, so almost double our population.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah, I'm thinking this is great.
I remember going to it when I was, a student and lived in Mount Olive, and I was like, man, Pickle Festival was fun.
Yeah.
You had the beach music, the night before, and
get down, have a
you
good
get
time.
into some things, you know what I mean?
We went from being a community festival to a national festival. Last year we brought in right at 60,000 people.
It is wild.
We did a survey. We had a survey. People could scan a QR code we were trying to collect some data. And we found that people came from like 25 different states. That is insane. And I'm saying to these people, why are you here from St. Louis, Missouri? I drove here just for the Pickle Festival. Are you kidding me? I'm like, that is unbelievable.
Welcome to For the Record, a Wayne County Chamber of Commerce podcast, where real conversations meet real impact. We dive into the stories, insights, and experiences that shape our world, bringing you expert voices, thought-provoking discussions, and a fresh perspective on the topics that matter most. For the Record is proudly sponsored by Atlantic Casualty Insurance Company, TA Loving Company, Goldsboro Builders Supply, PDM Professional Data Management, UNC Physicians Network, and Butterball. We're grateful for their support in making these conversations possible. And for the record, we're glad you're here.
Miss Julie Beck.
What up? What up?
How are you, friend?
Man, I'm doing good. How about you, Scott?
Yeah, I'm fired up, because you're here.
Hey, you and I go way back.
Oh, we do.
We got a lot of history between us.
I'm going to be honest. I was telling somebody the other day, I don't know how you look at Julie Beck and not smile. Like, how does that not happen? Like, it makes you want to just emote, with some kind of, expression of some sort.
Probably because I'm always laughing,
I think that's
I'm
it.
pretty much famous around the world for my raucous laughter.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I like it. That's such a good part. So, a lot of people know your name, right? You're world famous.
It's one word, by the way, Julie Beck.
Julie Beck, right?
I mean,
nobody
everybody
calls
in my
you
knowledge
Julie.
is Julie Beck. When
That's
somebody
so
says
true.
Julie, I don't even look because they're clearly talking about another
that is
Julie.
so true that
but they
you
say
say
Julie
that.
Beck, it's me.
That's right. I even to this day say, hey, Kristen or somebody will say, did you see Julie Beck? And I was like,
I don't even know how that started, but I've heard it now when I make an appointment somewhere to get my hair cut or something. I say, who is this? Julie Beck. Who? Oh, Julie Beck. But it's Julie Beck.
Yeah, that's so true. I don't think I've ever called you by your first or your last name. Yeah, that's so true. Interesting. So Julie Beck. All
Julie
right.
Beck.
One word. All right. So they know your name. A lot of people do. They know your face, and rightfully so. And then we've known each other for a long time. But we just want to learn a little bit more about you. So just tell us a little bit of your story. Like, how did you get to, just tell us about you. Where'd you come from? How'd you get here? What's happened since? Let's go there.
I was born and raised in Ohio. I'm a Midwest gal. My family lived about 10 minutes from Michigan and 10 minutes from Indiana, so in the very northwest corner. When I graduated from college, I went to college, Bowling Green State University in Ohio.
So were you guys Ohio State fans, or were you Michigan fans? Were you?
Did you say Michigan? What the heck? Definitely a Buckeye fan.
Okay.
But when I graduated from college, I knew that I was going to look for a job somewhere outside of Ohio. I just felt like I needed to go somewhere different, do something different. I think that sparked from the fact that, and I know we'll probably talk about that some more, but I had just been an exchange student overseas. So I think that had a big role.
Where did you go?
I went to the Netherlands for 3 months. I graduated from high school, and 1 week after high school, I got on a plane and flew to Amsterdam, stayed with a Dutch family who spoke no English, and I spoke no Dutch. It's a pretty tough 3 months.
Yeah.
But all of that experience really changed about where I wanted to live and what I wanted to do. So that is a big part of my life. Yeah. That one experience there just started something different that I would have never thought. So I started looking around for jobs, and I interviewed for somewhere in Goldsboro, North Carolina. Where the heck is that? With the Girl Scout office. Here at Coastal Carolina Girl Scouts. Flew down for an interview, and they offered me the job. I went back to Ohio, bought a car, put a few items in there, and headed south. And here I am almost 40 years later, still in North Carolina. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
The Girl Scouts brought you here.
Girl Scout brought me here.
How long did you work for the Girl Scouts?
I worked for the Girl Scouts for 4 years, and I ran programming. And then in the summertime, I ran camp. And Girl Scout has been a big part of my life. Most people don't even know this, but I am a lifetime member of Girl Scouts. This is my 55th year in Girl Scouting.
Wow. That's amazing.
And I worked about 17 summers at Girl Scout camps all around. And I also went to all 4 International Girl Scout centers. So Girl Scouting is a huge part of my life.
Wow. And I Scouting is such an underrated thing these days. I mean, it used to be, I think, bigger than it maybe is today.
It was, yes.
But, man, there are so many like really critical values and skills that people learn through that. I wish in many respects hopefully, like some of these other things, it'll see a revitalization or a revival because what great values, right?
Yeah, exactly. Especially with Girl Scouts. They teach about courage, confidence, and character. You already called me a character earlier today, so I am a character. But I think it really taught me some very valuable skills that have carried on in my life and always will be a big part of me.
Yeah, and we're thankful because it brought you here, right?
Yes, it did bring me to North Carolina. And after about 4 years of working for the Girl Scouts, I really decided the South wasn't for me, and it's maybe time to go somewhere different. And just about that time, someone contacted me about a job at Mile Olive College. Never even heard of Mile Olive College, but just down the road, went for an interview, and 9 days later, I started working there. And man, life has been a whirlwind ever since.
What was the job?
When I first started at Mile Olive, I was the residence hall director. So I lived in the dormitories with the students for 6 years. And then one day, my supervisor said, "Have you ever thought about being student activities director?" And I thought, that's a lot of work, a lot of hours. I don't think that's my cup of tea. But I said, well, I'll try it. Little did I know that was going to be my niche in life. I had no idea that I was an event planner. And since that moment, that's all I've done is plan events and activities. So it's so funny how life works out like that.
That's how I met you.
Yeah.
You know, when I was a student at Mount Olive College, you were the student activities. Student activities.
You were in
director.
Student Government Association.
Yeah. And I just remember anything that was happening that was fun, there was you.
Julie Beck was in charge
there
of
was
it.
you were in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And so you were like the fun director.
I was the fun director. In fact, my family used to say, when are you going to get a real job? Like, all you're doing is playing. I'm like, hey, I'm getting paid to play, you know?
Yeah.
But it really was my niche. It was my thing that I enjoyed, the chaos of trying to organize things and figure out stuff. Yeah. And it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And again, I continue to be an event planner for the rest of my life, I think.
Yeah, you were great at it. I remember we'd go back in those offices and everybody else is so uptight except for you.
And I'm in my office with 29 students in there. And we're cracking up and laughing.
Everybody's laughing. It's a good time. Had by all.
Yes.
That's wild.
Yes, it was a great time. I thoroughly enjoyed those 22 years of working at the college and getting to know so many people. And I keep up with so many of those college students all the time. It's unbelievable. And I know that's what I made a difference because the fact that they want to keep in touch with me.
Sure.
And if I'm traveling in the area and they see I'm posting on Facebook, please let's meet up for a cup of coffee or a beer or something. We got to touch base. And I'm like, yes, please.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you were also, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, weren't you a professor for a portion of that time?
Yes, I did do some part-time teaching while I was working there full-time. And now I've been back teaching part-time at the university as an adjunct faculty, teaching recreation classes. I love being in the classroom. Like my father was a school teacher for 39 years. And growing up, I was like, oh, I don't want to be an educator. I'm an educator. I can't walk away from it. It's such a part of my life. And I love getting in that classroom and sharing my knowledge and experience with the students and seeing them where the light bulb goes off when they get an idea and a concept and then they put it into place. And I'm an educator at heart. I just can't walk away from it.
It's just wired in there somewhere.
It is. It's so funny. But, I think really everything I do in life is about educational because even if I'm doing chamber work or teaching in the classroom or leading a travel workshop, it's about educating other people. So to me, I'm an educator, been my whole life and probably always will be.
Huh. That's wild. Yeah. Yeah, no, I remember in your role and when I was a student there, we've shared this story together many times, but I'll never forget the day I had been in the SGA. I was the SGA president, and I was really elected SGA president through no real achievement of any kind. You know what I mean?
We must have been desperate. No, I'm just kidding.
Seriously, you were. And I remember my grades weren't that great, so it wasn't that. And I wasn't that handsome. I wasn't an athlete. I still to this day am not sure how that happened. Maybe it was fake news, But anyway, so there I am, SGA president, and all these smart people are like officers in addition to me. I remember Janae Joyner was her name at the time, and
Janae
Marcy
Joyner,
Rollins at the time. They're all like super great students. They're very together. They're always on time and all those sorts of things.
And where's Scott? Let me look at my watch and
Well,
see what
you
time
guys,
is Scott
hold
coming.
on. You all moved those meetings to 8 o'clock in the morning.
Well, because we needed Scott to get out of bed and come to the
And
meetings.
I'm gonna be honest, that was a mistake for my life. It really wasn't a good fit. And I remember it was about the second one I missed. And I just get this call from Julie Beck, and it was giving me the business.
Get it together,
Get
Scott.
it together.
Get it together.
In so many words, you know what I mean?
Probably I was said a little bit
In so many
more
words.
harsh.
But it was useful. You know what I mean? It was useful and memorable. So I remember it to this day. And but yeah, those were good. Those were good memories. So yeah, I mean, you've obviously there's a lot of students who've gone through this area that know you, and you've done that. But I guess you're now known across the world because you travel all the time.
Well, I've been a few places. You know, when I was 17, I told you I went to be an exchange student. And when I was gone those 3 months, of course, I couldn't figure out the language or the culture or any of the customs. But when I came home, I knew that I was a different person. And I said to my parents, I'm going to travel the world. And they said, yeah, right. You've had your experience. Go to college and move on. But I couldn't let it go. And so it started out with me just kind of traveling to Europe here and there. But I learned that Europeans knew so much more about America than I did. So I felt kind of dumb, to be honest. So I was like, I need to explore my own country. So then I set this goal to travel to all 50 states. And by age 35, check, had done it. So then I started traveling to a lot of countries and a lot of continents. And I thought, I wonder if I can get to all 7 continents. I mean, I don't know anybody who's done that. By age 42, I had checked that off my list. And so now I'm on my third goal. Is to get to 100 countries. By the time I'm 65, I'm at 92 countries, Scott. I am so close to that goal of making it. And so it's just been an amazing experience to travel the world and learn so much about other people and cultures. But honestly, I think I learned the most about myself. The more I learn about other people, the more I learn about myself and who I am and who I want to be.
Favorite place to visit?
You know, my favorite place is based upon the experiences that I've had and the people that I've met. And I've had some incredible experiences, from meeting the president of Malta to meeting the Queen of England to swimming in a mud bath in a volcano to bungee jumping, skydiving. So, you know, there's a lot of really cool places I like. But I would have to say Australia, Eastern Europe, South Africa are probably some of my favorite.
Eastern Europe. I wouldn't guess
Eastern
that.
Europe. Oh my God, I love Eastern Europe.
What stands out?
I think the culture is just so unique and different there. I mean, I've been all over those parts over there, and I just love all the people and the experiences I have there.
It seems gray from a distance, like when you look at it on TV or when you see pictures of it.
There's some incredible scenery in Eastern Europe. Amazing. About 2 summers ago, I went to the country of Georgia. Not Georgia, Atlanta, but the country of Georgia. And I mean, the scenery was phenomenal.
Really?
And just the people and the experiences were amazing. And
don't they have all these old buildings too? Like
they
old
do. You know, we
architecture?
think America's old. And honestly, we're getting ready to turn 250 years old. We're brand new compared to these foreign countries that I go to. And I think that's what I like about it, because there's so much history to these places, and you learn so much about their history and why they do what they do, you know. And it's always a challenge. People say, what languages do you speak? I'm maybe sign language. I don't really know sign language, but I'm just trying to figure stuff out, right? Because I took 2 years of French in high school, 2 years of German in college. And about 8 years ago, I, on a whim, went to Russia and studied the Russian language for a month. Why? Who does that? But it was an awesome experience. Even made the 6 o'clock news. They came and interviewed me. They were like, who's this crazy American in here trying to learn our language, right? Nice. So I think that's half the challenge, is trying to figure out the language. And, you know, it's all good. That's all part of the experience to me.
Yeah. And humans are still, I mean, I guess, I'm sure there's a lot of things that are different about us, but what's the same? I mean, I'm sure you've seen that there's...
People are people are people. Honestly, we don't even have to speak the same language or have the same custom, and we're just people. And we need to learn to respect each other and for whatever beliefs you have, and to appreciate people for the differences and not for so much craziness, but to just find the good in people. And you know, as I travel around the world, I've had so many opportunities to interact with people. I've had opportunities to go in classrooms in Africa and teach children, and to just do amazing things like that. And I think that's what's so great about it, is meeting these people around the world.
Where do you think you'll never return?
The one country that I struggled more than anywhere else, every time somebody asks this question, it's the same answer. It's India. Mm-hmm. India has the most poverty that I've ever seen anywhere in all the world, and it has the most filth. And I think it's just so hard for us to grasp and understand why they live like this and why do they think like they do. Mm-hmm. And of course, it didn't help when I was in India for the 2.5 weeks. They were in the middle of a war between India and Pakistan. I didn't know the next day, was I going to be in the middle of a battle or what, right? Mm-hmm. So it was quite an experience. I really struggled internally. I was traveling by myself. I had no one to share those experiences with. I did not want to put anything back in an email to my family because I knew they would be worried about me. So I just kind of kept it to myself. So it's the one place that I have still to this day struggle with what I experienced over there. And I need to go back, but I need to go on a tour. I was totally doing this on my own and trying to figure it all out. And and so it was just a challenge.
Wow. That's interesting. Okay, so what's next? Where are you going?
Well, so this summer I'm planning on going to South America. I want to hit some more countries toward that 100 goal. So I think right now I'm going to go to Argentina, which I have been before, but I was there when I was on my way to Antarctica, and I had broke my leg. And so when I was in Argentina and in Antarctica, I was on cast and crutches. Very difficult to get around. So I'd like to go back to Argentina with 2 good feet and to be able to truly experience it. So Argentina, and then Paraguay, Uruguay, and Brazil, which are places I have not been. And you may not know, but I do all my traveling on my own. I don't use a travel agent. I literally book a flight in and a flight out, and I figure it out when I get there. Really? I don't know where I'm going to sleep. I don't know what I'm going to do. I intentionally do that because it challenges me to figure all this stuff out and to interact with the locals. You get in some crazy shenanigans because of the miscommunications or not knowing what you don't know. But those are the memories that I treasure more than anything when I come home.
Oh, that's amazing. Erin's husband, Philippe, is from Brazil.
Yes, I know. I'm totally going to have some conversations. And there's a new tennis coach at University of Miami who's from Argentina. I already had a conversation with her last night that, hey, I need to talk to you.
That's right. Well, so he tells stories about, the Brazilian barbecues. Oh. Because they eat so much meat. And it's just
I'm
like
a meat girl now.
Oh, it's kind of like, I don't know if you remember the smoked place that we ate at when we were in Salisbury. Do you remember that?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. For the Main Street
like
Conference.
Multiple days.
Yes, we did.
You remember that?
Those burnt ends and that brisket. I was like, woo, pig out.
It was so good. Anyway, it's a lot of that.
Oh, I'm good with that.
They do open air grilling on that,
And Argentina is very well known for their steaks.
Is that right?
Yes.
Praise the Lord. Yeah. Well, may the force be with you.
I'll be 20 pounds heavy when I get home.
Take some pictures and share it if you don't mind. So, all right. So in your current gig, you've gone through all these things, but I guess, I don't know how many years ago now, but you're the sitting, tell the folks what your current title is.
So I'm the president of the Mount Olive Area Chamber of Commerce. I've been doing that I cannot believe it, for 11 years. Before I became the president, I had served on the chamber board for 12 years.
Wow.
I loved it, was very passionate about the chamber. And then I was between jobs.
Who was in charge of it then?
Patty O'Donohue.
Okay.
And I'll never forget one time Patty told me, she said, we were getting ready to decorate for something, and I just got a bunch of supplies and came back and started decorating. And I'll never forget, she said, Julie, some people wait for things to happen. You make things happen. And she said that was what always resonated with her about me. And so when I had an opportunity, when the chamber president had left at that time, the chamber board came to me. I was clearly on the board at that time. And I said, we know you're between jobs, and would you be interested in being the chamber president? And I was like, let me take it for an interim for 6 months, and let me just figure out if I want it. And at 6 months, I can walk away or y'all can walk away. They said, deal. And here I am 11 years later, still doing the chamber job. So it must have been a good fit.
Right. There you go. Well, that's good. So that's now something we share, right?
I know. Who would have thought that when we were together at UMO, MLC at that time, that we would both be chamber presidents? That's kind of crazy, isn't it?
It is. It's wild. But the chamber world is a great world.
It is a great world.
But it is a unique world. And I'm not sure sometimes, I think what people think about the chamber, maybe you just tell me what you think, but I think people have an assumption that it's, you wave your hand, you cut a ribbon, you do an event, what's the, I mean, what do you think? Like, what have you noticed about the job, and what is it like to be a president of a chamber of commerce? And
Well, I really had no idea that when I agreed to take on the chamber that I was going to be working with tourism and economic development and businesses. I mean, there's just so many components of it politics, medical care, healthcare, all kinds of stuff. I just had no concept that when you're in the chamber role, you're dealing with the community as a whole, whatever aspect. It might be education, it might be whatever.
Right.
And you're that anchor really for that organization and that town to try to work through all these different situations, good and bad.
Right.
And I just had no idea. So I've learned a lot about, working with communities. Honestly, once I became chamber president, it's hard to go to another community without start thinking about that stuff.
That's right.
You're like, oh, I wonder why. I wonder if. Yeah. Yes, you cannot walk away from it. It's a part of your DNA, I think now.
Well, in Mount Olive, which is a little different than in Goldsboro, for example, would be like you are also essentially the Main Street director down there, which, so like here, you have Downtown Goldsboro Development Office. And then you have the chamber, and those are two separate organizations. And part of that's because of the size and different things.
Yes.
But in Mount Olive, that's not the case. The person who's representing the Main Street, which is an official designation for the community, as far as through the Department of Commerce,
right,
to maintain that accreditation and to do all those things. I mean, you are the one who participates on behalf of the town of Mount Olive in all these venues. Is that right?
That's exactly right. So I probably wear more hats than the average chamber president because I am a one and only employee of the chamber. And because we are a small community, I'm doing tourism. I'm doing Main Street. I'm doing chamber work. I'm doing a variety of different things, Now, I enjoy that because if you sometimes you're like, oh, I need to jump to do something a little bit different. Yeah. But sometimes it can be a bit too much. Yeah. And I think one of my biggest challenges and fears is that when I move on and do something different, how do you transfer all of that information? Because it's not just for chamber, but it's for festivals and tourism and economic impact. And I don't even know how you transfer that kind of information. I've learned so much in the last 11 years.
Yeah. Well, I'm about to have to figure that out myself because I'm stepping out. By the time this airs, I'm sure I won't be in this role, but I've kind of been thinking about that myself. It's like, and I know Kate, has had to navigate this too. I don't know, after you've lived at this pace and you've seen all these things and you know what I mean? Like you're that involved in the community, to be less involved is going to be awkward.
Yes.
I would think it would be awkward for anybody.
Well, I know when I left University of Mount Olive, I was so involved in all the students' lives for 22 years. And it was a shock to me that first year I switched careers, right? And I'm like, oh, I kind of miss it. But now I feel like I'm back in the same boat, but just in a different capacity. And now I'm working in different circles than I did. Right. But I'm so engaged, and I can understand when you leave this field, you're going to go like, oh, I'm having some little withdrawals here, because it's such a fast pace and you're doing so many different things.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. So what do you think is the hardest part? Like, I mean, I'm sure you face a handful of challenges.
Just a handful.
Yeah. Because I don't think most people appreciate this. So we're trying to educate the folks. I mean, what are some of the challenges that you face?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is recruiting and retaining chamber members and trying to show them the value that they're getting for their chamber membership. And it's so hard to describe or to explain what you're getting because you don't always know. And, as you know, sometimes when the phone rings and someone says, hey, I need to get my car work done, who do you recommend? See, our members don't hear those phone calls, and they don't know that we're only recommended on chamber members or we're putting their name out there in other places. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges for me. And I think, just being a one person, I'm the only person in the office. So if I have to come to a meeting, then you have to shut the doors, and then people say, well, there's nobody there to answer the phone, nobody there to greet me. So, I think that's one of the challenges we have in Mount Olive, just having a one-woman show. And how do we change that? Or do we need to change it? I'm not sure.
Yeah. And I guess, too, like there's so much work put into serving the community in such a way that it makes the place good for business.
Yes.
And I think that maybe that's underestimated, right? I mean, where a business doesn't appreciate the fact that you did this, and this, and it all made it better to be a business in Mount Olive as a result.
Right. I think sometimes business owners don't appreciate the fact that if I'm not in the office because I'm at meetings in Goldsboro and I'm having important conversations about various topics, how that is having an impact on Mount Olive, but they don't always see that. And I think that's hard to describe to them why it's so important that I have a voice in the county, not just in Mount Olive, but in the county, and making a difference for our community.
And making sure Mount Olive's interests are represented.
Yes, and I feel like I am the face of Mount Olive. I mean, I think if you ask somebody, who do you know that's involved in everything in Mount Olive, you're probably going to hear Julie Beck or Len Williams. You know, we're the two that's kind of the faces. I don't know how that came to be or why that is, but I think it's important for me to be out there and to be representing our community.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I mean, that's what I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, because even at the college, you know, I guess post Dr. Raper, he was there for a number of years, so 40 years almost. But
yeah, something like that, yeah.
After Dr. Raper, I mean, it's kind of been different
Changing
people. And so even with the college, I mean, maybe Diane Riley. I think about Diane Riley. You remember?
Oh, Diane.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
She was there for a long time. Miss Jean Ackes was there for a long time. So those are some staples that I remember, you know, for when I would think of Mount Olive. But, yeah, I mean, when I think of Mount Olive, I think of Julie Beck, that's for sure. So you got a lot of different challenges you face, you know, chamber membership and value and those sorts of things. And I totally get that and appreciate that.
And I think one of the other challenges is, you know, and maybe Goldsboro people don't see it, but in Mount Olive people, we feel slighted often because we're south of the river and we feel like we're forgotten about, even though we're the second largest town in the county and we hold our own. But I think often people forget about Mount Olive. And so how do we make sure the people in Goldsboro remember us and involve us and include us in things, you know, because we're important. We're part of this county and we need to be included in whatever's going on.
Right.
I probably see a different perspective than the average Mount Olive citizen just because I'm so involved in stuff.
Right.
But I try to fight for our citizens to make sure that we are representative and people do remember us and include us in what's going on.
Yeah, it's a lot like being an elected leader without being an elected leader.
Thank God.
No, I mean, I'm saying, but that's the truth. I mean, I would say, I mean, in some ways, there's a huge advantage to that because you don't have to worry with the whole politics of that part anyway.
Right.
I mean, there's definitely
politics,
you know, but you know, I guess it's the you know, you work for a private entity, you serve at the discretion of a board, and not at the discretion of the public at large, despite what some people think, but you get to be, you know, sort of almost a head of state type role, you know, for the community, you know, and
I often, people say, oh, you work for the town of Mount Olive, and I hear that. I can't even tell you how many times I've heard that, and I'm like, I'm not an employee of the town. I work with the town, but I don't work for the town, you know. I'm in partnership with them, but I think people don't always understand what is a Chamber of Commerce and what is their role, and what exactly do you do? And,
you know, it seems like, you know, for years, the Chamber of Commerce it was like a default thing for businesses to be involved in. It was like a default that your town or municipality would just be supportive of its Chamber of Commerce. Those days seem like a thing of the past. I mean, you can no longer take for granted that that the chamber at least, and I don't think it's just the chamber. There are all kinds of institutions, but I don't think we enjoy that same, I don't know, just automatic support. Have you found that to be the case?
No, I do find that true. You know, I think some businesses join the chamber because it's the right thing to do. Right. Some join it because they truly want the assistance and the resources from the chamber. And some, I think, really question, what is the chamber doing and why do I need to be a part of what they're doing?
Sure.
And I think the role of chambers have changed a lot too, though, like you were alluding to. I think, you know, now chambers are involved in so many aspects of the community and they're not just, don't take this wrong, not just for the businesses they are, but in a roundabout way, in other ways that's going to benefit the businesses, but it may not be one-on-one with that business, right? And I think that's hard sometimes for businesses to understand. Yeah,
well, because, I mean, somebody's got to shape the ecosystem, right, for entrepreneurship or business, and that means a lot of different things. You got to have a strong workforce, which means your education has to be good. What about for, you know, mobility of workers? I mean, the people who have to work for, you know, people who have to work for the people who are, creating the jobs. There has to be people to fill the jobs.
Right. That's right.
And, can those people have their kids taken care of with child care that's adequate? Do they have a place to live in the community? I mean, like in Mount Olive's case, it's been under a moratorium for a number of years. So even if somebody wanted to bring new industry down to Mount Olive, you can't really do it.
No,
I mean,
you cannot. Can't even build a new home.
Yeah. So then the question becomes, if you're the chamber president, advocating for those things to evolve and to be better.
Because there's a whole domino effect that's going to happen.
That's right. It's a huge benefit for business because all of those things have a fallout effect to those businesses.
That's exactly right.
To their bottom line even, but not just their bottom line, to the people who can, work there, buy there, whatever it might be. And so, and there are people forever. I mean, there are people right now who would move to Mount Olive if more places to live in Mount Olive were available.
No, I agree. And I know that we've been, had to turn away businesses who want to come and bring, but we can't do anything with the moratorium right now. So obviously that's a very key issue in Mount Olive. Right. And I think the chamber plays a big role in that. I work very closely with the town for a lot of different things. And recently we revitalized our downtown, Mount Olive Downtown Development Corporation. And I've served a lot with them doing stuff because I realize the value is our downtown.
Right.
And everything that's going on in the community, So pretty much if there's a committee formed in Mount Olive, Julie Beck gets put on the committee. Nice. Not a bad thing.
I get it.
And I want to be involved and I want to know what's going on because that's how we can make a difference and educate people about what's happening.
Yeah, I just think I think sometimes, I wanted to make sure it didn't go without saying, that those things occur. And they're pivotal to the outcome of business in Mount Olive.
Absolutely.
And really pivotal to business in Wayne County. I mean, what happens in Mount Olive does matter to what happens in the rest of the county. And not just the rest of this county, but Mount Olive is really an anchor.
We're right there at Duplin.
That's right. I mean, you probably have within a 20-mile radius of you, Duplin, Sampson, even Lenore. There's a lot of impact that Mount Olive is kind of the go-to place.
It is, and I was just about to say that. Most of those people have a Mount Olive address or when you had a landline, a Mount Olive phone number, but they're all shopping and working in Mount Olive, but they may live in Duplin County or Sampson County, but they're very much, and I think, we call ourselves the Mount Olive Area Chamber of Commerce because I think we represent such a diverse group. We've got the Marmac and the Seven Springs and the Faison and the Calypso and all those different areas that funnel into Mount Olive, even a little bit of Newton Grove and stuff that funnel into Mount Olive. Right. So we have an interesting setup down there in Mount Olive that we have to kind of all work together and figure out what's going to work best for all of us.
Yeah, 100%. And I think on that note is a good time to ask you about probably the thing I think you're most associated with, and maybe even aside from the pickle company itself and maybe University of Mount Olive, the thing that when people think about the town of Mount Olive that they think about, and that is the Mount Olive Pickle Festival.
Woo, woo, woo. That Pickle Fest was a big deal.
I had a feeling that was coming. I'm going to be honest. I saw that happening,
the Pickle Festival is 30.
It's 30. Go ahead.
39 years old this year, here in 2025. It was started back in 1986 when some citizens of Mount Olive got together and decided we should have some kind of signature event in our town. And they actually hired a consultant to come from the outside to try to help them figure out what that signature event was. And the consultant said, hello, you got a pickle company in town. Why are you not having a pickle festival? So I got involved with this. I cannot believe this is my 30th year doing the Pickle Festival.
That's wild.
When I got involved, we had about 8,000 people coming to Pickle Festival. My line was about 4,500, so almost double our population.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah, I'm thinking this is great.
I remember going to it when I was, a student and lived in Mount Olive, and I was like, man, Pickle Festival is fun. Yeah. You had the beach music, the night before, and
get down, have a
you
good
get
time.
into some things, you know what I mean? I'm not going to say the things, but whatever some things, you might get into. Anyway, go ahead.
So once I started taking on the role of the chairperson, I realized that this was something I was very passionate about. Now, I've always loved pickles. So that had nothing to do with it. But I realized that you have to grow these events. And so I began to get involved in the State Festival Association, which I've served on their board for 20-some years. I got involved in a regional festival association that involves festivals in 12 states. I started my own festival consortium to try to be a mentor to festival directors. And I began to realize I know a lot about festivals, and I started going to festivals. I started volunteering at festivals, and I think that's why we have grown so much. Because I don't mind taking a risk and bringing in some unusual acts or interesting things to bring to our festival. I think that started our growth. We were at about 40,000 for many years, and then of course COVID-19 hit, and whoo, people are ready to go anywhere, get out of their house, and between COVID-19 and social media, we went from being a community festival to a national festival. Last year we brought in right at 60,000 people.
That is wild.
We did a survey. We had a survey. People could scan a QR code we were trying to collect some data. And we found that people came from like 25 different states. That is insane. And I'm saying to these people, why are you here from St. Louis, Missouri? I drove here just for the Pickle Festival. Are you kidding me? I'm like, that is unbelievable. So,
it's the definition of place-based economics. You know what I mean?
It is.
It's like, it's your hook.
It is our hook, and we are, as you said, very well known for we have a great reputation, not only in the state, but across the U.S. for this event. It's gotten so big, as trying to manage it now. I'm like, oh my gosh. And one thing we do that's
then get people in and out of there, because Mount Olive's not made for 60,000 people. Let's be honest.
For the first time ever, we're having a logistics coordinator as part of our planning team.
Yeah.
We have never had a logistics coordinator, but we have to. Right? And you have to think about all these people coming in, how you're going to get them in, get them out, how you're going to keep them safe while they're there. Obviously, safety is always on our top of our brain about what we're doing. But it's about having fun and letting people try pickly food, pickle popcorn, pickle pizza, pickle snow cones, pickle donuts, pickle fudge, you name it, pickly food, pickly drinks.
That sounds gross to me, but that's cool.
Yeah,
a lot of pickle things.
A lot of pickle things.
And they've got pickle beer right there now.
Pickle beer. We made pickle soda last year. So, all things pickly in Mount Olive.
That's right.
And one thing that people may not know is we have very unique designs for our pickle festival. In fact, I just got my design for the 2025. I'm unveiling it tomorrow, matter of fact.
Oh, nice.
And people say, where do you get these crazy designs? But honestly, they're based upon my travels. So when I'm traveling in the summertime, I'm thinking about some cool experience I've had and how can I incorporate that into what I'm doing. So this theme I'm getting ready to unveil is based upon the experience I had in Germany just in September, not too long ago. And
tag the Wayne County Chamber of Commerce.
What's that?
Tag the Wayne County Chamber of Commerce.
I will.
Okay.
And that makes it really interesting. People love to come and collect our T-shirts because they have such crazy themes to them. And they're like, what in the world? But, it's because I'm traveling the world.
Yeah. So 30 years, what do you attribute? I know you've been involved in these different festival networks and all that sort of stuff, but what do you attribute the evolution of its success to? What is it that drove it from being, because even 10,000 people is a lot of people. It's a lot
for Mount Olive, yes.
So even to go from 10 to 40.
Yeah.
Like what was it that made that?
I think it's the uniqueness of pickles, celebrating all things pickles. And now, of course,
like not really straying from that,
right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And I think now pickles are so trendy. There's all kinds of pickly, whatever you see on the internet all the time, people trying all kinds of pickle food, pickle drinks, whatever. I think people just crave that pickle trend. And so that's really driven up the amount of people that come to our event and want to see what is going on. And I think we put on a good quality, well thought out event. So, we put a lot, it literally takes us a whole year to plan that thing and to really think about what we want to do, how do we want to lay it out. And I think people see that when they come, And we offer unique things like taking a helicopter ride. Many people have never done a helicopter ride before in their life. Yeah. And now you can come to a festival and you can take a nice flight and you're like, whew, that was really cool,
Yeah. And then, and of course you have the pickle plant right there.
Yes.
Like you don't have to look around. It's right there.
Yeah. And of course, the pickle company is giving out free pickles all day long at the Pickle Festival, which people relish getting those pickles. I'm just telling Da-da-ding. But it's a great event, and I think, whenever I move away from Mount Olive, I'm not leaving anytime soon, but when I move away from Mount Olive, I think the two legacies I'll leave behind will be of course, the Pickle Festival and our Kids World Playground.
Yeah.
And I don't know
I
if
remember.
you know.
I remember the playground. I remember when you started down. That
Yeah,
road.
and I'm the one that brought that idea back from Alaska and said, we need this really cool playground. So I think those will be my two legacies I'll leave in
As
Mount
a
Olive.
student, I remember working on it.
I had all the students out there help to build it.
It was. I remember because we would go and just kind of hang out, and the playground was nothing, and it was terrible.
It was kind of
It was
not
terrible.
very nice. A
And
sketchy
I
playground.
remember when you introduced. I mean, I think that was during my time because I remember that being introduced.
It was in the year 2000.
Yep, that's right. So I was a sophomore in college.
Yeah.
Junior in college, maybe. Yeah, either a sophomore or junior. I can't remember. Anyway, but I remember that spring we were out there working and putting stuff up, and we took a lot of pride in that. I mean,
well, and that's what's really cool. That playground, we're getting ready to have the 25th birthday celebration for it. Yes. To think that playground's been there almost 25 years. We buried a time capsule. I can't wait to dig it up and see what we buried in that time capsule. But I think the reason that playground has played such a big role because so many people, 1,700 people in our community came out, and college students included, to build that playground. We have ownership in that. We appreciate the value of what it represents and the fun times that families have had at that playground. And so it's just a big part of who we are in Mount Olive as well. I mean, school buses come from all around to come to the Mount Olive playground.
That's wild. That's so funny that you say that because this past year when I went to the Pickle Festival and I had to park on the other side, like I was parked in the parking lot of the
Westbrook Park.
Yeah, of the park.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, once I parked in that parking spot, it brought back memories of having parked there as a student. And then as I'm walking through the park, I remembered working on, the slides and all that, and the wood that went in and all of that stuff.
We built that playground in 5 days. And it was incredible. It cost $133,000 to build that playground. Wow. We raised $180,000. So we took that extra money and we put in a walking trail. Yeah. We put in bathrooms that we never had before. Yeah. We put in gazebos and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's such a vital part of our community now. So I reflect back and I think about that. And I'm like, I'm so glad I was a part of that activity and the things that happen now.
Nobody will ever regret spending $180,000 on that.
Absolutely not.
Forever.
No.
I mean, like it'll be forgotten that you even spent that money, and you'll always remember that you've got. I mean, like that's the kind of stuff that I think communities forget sometimes. Is that it's like, gosh, sometimes it is worth making these investments in your place.
I agree. I agree. And I think people get so hung up on the money aspect of it, but they forget the result of it and what it's going to bring to a community. Yeah. Things like a pickle festival or things like a playground or other things like that, that is such important things to have in your community and improve the quality of life, of course.
Well, and going back to the Pickle Festival just a second, because one thing we didn't talk about, but I think it's very critical to talk about, is the economic impact. So talk to us a little bit about that. I mean, what have y'all measured that? What is that?
We did several years ago, and I don't know off the top of my head, but we know that it provides a huge economic impact, not only for Mount Olive, but for Wayne County and for North Carolina. Yeah. I think North Carolina is number 5 in the nation of tourists coming to our state. And it's important to have these people coming and spending this money. And not only that, our churches, our nonprofits, they all have a booth. They count on raising money every year at our festival. And the thing I like best about that money that they're raising, they're putting right back into the community, offering programming, providing services to people in need. So it's just such an amazing thing.
And then the benefit that brings to all the businesses, not just, so there's definitely the impact during the time of the festival.
Yes.
But the fact that people even know that Mount Olive exists, that wouldn't have known otherwise, I think it's important for community leaders and for business leaders to remember that. And I know a lot of them do. Yeah. And a lot of them appreciate it because it's so well, thought of. Yeah. But I also know that from time to time, people can take something that seems so obvious and not really give it the respect or credit that is due. And at the end of the day, I mean, there's just a lot of folks that would never even be exposed to the place were it not for that.
You're exactly right. I think people come from all over and they get to see what a small town is all about. And of course, several years ago, we had that giant pickle mural painted, which people love. I don't think people can come to. People can't come to town without doing a selfie.
So there was a building I just saw where Joel, shared the exterior painting of the pickle facade in your downtown.
Oh, yes. Our new Mount Olive Pickle Company is moving their gift store The exterior is phenomenal.
It is
It's pickly
wild.
green and yellow.
I was like,
it's just
that
pickle
is-
green. It's amazing.
I don't
And
know I don't know who designed that, but I was like, oh, that is.
I think they're even going to have like a pickle tasting in the new pickle company
That's
gift
wild.
store, which is going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
And this year we actually got a grant from the Arts Council, and we're actually doing a paint by number thing on the day of the Pickle Festival.
that's great.
I'm working with Maximilian Mozingo to create a design, and
Great
then when people
artist.
come, they'll be able to paint on it. And at the end of the day of the Pickle Festival, we're going to have this new mural that we will permanently display in downtown
That people
Mount
contributed
Olive,
to.
and people can say, "Hey, I was a part of that. Like
That's
I
cool.
painted that one little section there." So I'm pretty excited about that new project we're going to do.
No, that's great. That's great. And isn't it great to see the Arts Council back up and thriving? And
It is, and of course, we're excited about having some
Active down
studios
there.
in Mount Olive.
That's
I think
great.
there's about 8 art studios in Mount Olive, and
Yeah.
we're partnering more and more with Anna Henson and things that we're doing between the Chamber and the Arts Council. And so I think that, again, that just shows what a community wants and what a community needs, and just making our place a better place to live and work and play.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what when you think about Wayne County, you think about the future, what comes to mind? What do you think's next? What do you see? What are you excited about? What are you concerned about? Anything when you think about the future, what is it?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I think as a whole, the people in Wayne County are amazing people. I think they really, truly care about people. They might sometimes have funny ways of showing it, but when it comes right down to it, I think people have good hearts and they want to make a difference in our communities and they want to work together. And so I'm excited about the people that, I guess it goes back to the old Southern hospitality. Do we have our challenges in Wayne County? Of course we do, and we probably have a variety of challenges. But I think if we can all go into it with the right mindset, how can we partner together to fix these challenges and come up with some productive solutions? I think that's the secret. And not being so territorial or so vindictive, you won this battle, I want to win this battle. No, let's just work together and figure out how can we make this work, because we all benefit in the long run when that all happens.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth. Well, we're thankful for you. I mean, you're an asset, and you have been for a very, very long time, to a lot of people and to a lot of institutions. The University of Mount Olive wouldn't be the place that it is were it not for you. Town of Mount Olive would not be the place that it is were it not for you. And Wayne County would not be the same were it not for you. And so we're just thankful for you.
Ooh, that's saying a lot, Scott. I don't know.
Well, it's the truth.
This old Northern Midwest gal, who's come down here,
we beggars can't be choosy, We got to take what we can get.
I know.
Yankees.
But I guess I never thought that I would be in Wayne County this long, to be honest.
Yeah.
It just was never on my radar. But when I reflect back over the last 30, 40 years I've been here, and I think about all the cool experiences I've had and the wonderful opportunities I've had, I wouldn't change it for anything. It's, obviously been a great experience for me. And I think I'm at this point in my career now to try to be mentors to other people and try to share with them the knowledge that people share with me, and also just to try to see the potential in people, because people saw potential in me and supported me, and I think now my role is to do that with other people as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you for all you do, and thank you for joining us today.
Well, I'm delighted.
I love it.